Lines and Logic, where we break down core sports betting concepts that help you craft an edge. I'm Sigma Squirrel, and today we're zeroing in on what might be the single most important metric for any sharp bettor: closing line value, or CLV. If you've ever asked, was that a good bet? CLV gives you the answer. Let's start off by defining the term. Closing line value is the difference between the odds you got the bet down at and the odds the market closed at. Let's look at a quick illustration. If you bet a team at minus 110 odds and the line closes at minus 125, that's positive CLV. You got the better number. On the other hand, if you bet at minus 110 and it closes at minus 105 odds, that's negative CLV. The market moved away from you. This isn't just trivia. CLV is a direct reflection of how good the market thinks your bet was. Here's the biggest truth in betting. If you consistently beat the closing line, you're making good bets, even if the bet loses. Now, that's a hard concept for most bettors to accept. Why? Because we're conditioned to think in terms of wins and losses. If the bet wins, it was a smart bet. If it loses, it must have been a bad bet. But in sports betting, that logic is completely backwards. This is a world where bad bets can win and good bets can lose because outcomes are noisy, but prices are everything. Think of it like this. Let's say you flip a coin and bet $110 to win $100 on heads, and it lands tails. You lost. But if you were being offered plus 105 odds on heads instead of minus 110, you'd still want that bet every time because the price is in your favor, even if the outcome didn't go your way. The same principle applies in betting markets. If you consistently get better numbers than the market closes at, you're showing that you have some form of edge. You're reading injury reports, you're watching market movement, you're watching sharp book prices, maybe it's matchup edges or a model you have, something better than the average bettor. And over time, that edge really adds up. And eventually, your profits, or ROI, will catch up to your closing line value. It just takes enough volume to let the math win out over the randomness. That's why CLV is such a powerful tool and why it's so misunderstood, because the results that most people track, the win-loss record or their profit and loss record, can completely mask whether your strategy is actually sharp. Because again, you can win bad bets. You can lose good bets. The only way to understand whether or not your bet was sharp or not is to compare the price you got versus the price where that bet closed. That's it. The end. That's the measurement that matters. Now, there are absolutely some advanced tactics and techniques to try to hide your closing line value from retail sports books to avoid getting limited as a sharp bettor. Absolutely valid. There are some really seasoned pros out there and very experienced bettors who will try to bet sharp without showing closing line value. That's great, but that's not where we are right now. In your journey as a bettor, step one is make good bets. And what I'm saying is that the measurement of whether or not your bet was good or not isn't whether it won or lost, it's whether you beat the closing line. So here's the mindset shift I want you to take. Stop asking, did it win? Start asking, did I beat the close? Because that's the real scoreboard that's going to propel you to long-run profitability. Tracking your CLV is absolutely critical to knowing whether or not you are on the right track. So let's say over 1,000 bets, you consistently beat the market by an average closing line price of about 2%. That 2% edge is eventually going to equal the return on investment of total handle wagered over the long run. So even if you hit a cold streak this month and drop 10 units, your edge, because you're tracking it and you know it, is still very, very real. That's why tracking CLV is what separates the pros from the casuals, from the profitable bettors, from the losing bettors, from people who know what they're doing, from people who just don't know what they're talking about. You'll often hear sharp bettors say, "Man, I'd make that bet again every time." That mindset comes from knowing that you had positive closing line value. You beat the market. The rest is just noise. Do it over and over again. You're going to be just fine. That's the breakdown on closing line value, the most honest barometer of how sharp your bets really are. If you like this episode, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell so you never miss a drop, and if you're ready to go deeper, join the Sharp Money Discord. The link's below. Until next time, I'm Sigma Squirrel. Stay sharp.